Hello friends and welcome back to the Dork Side. I'm the Dork on the road, and this is 3 simple ways you can improve your off-road motorcycle riding skills. I'm the Dork on the road, and I want to be your internet riding buddy, so please consider subscribing. Riding a motorcycle off-road is super fun and one of my favorite ways to explore the backcountry. But it is a very different animal from, say, overlanding in a rig or a side-by-side, or even riding a quad, because neither of those things can slide out from underneath you unexpectedly. Because of this, it can be difficult for newer riders to really get their feet under them and really start to enjoy riding a motorcycle off-road. There's a lot of sketchiness, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of mental blocks that you have to get past in order to relax and finally be able to just ride comfortably and confidently off-road on a loose surface. Building your basic skills can go a long way towards increasing your confidence and therefore your ability when it comes to riding off-road. Even advanced riders can benefit from a refresher from focusing on their basic skills, because the better you get at the basic skills, the better rider you become overall. So we're going to talk about simple, basic skills that you can practice every time you go out and ride that will make you a better, more confident off-road rider, whether you are a brand new rider all the way up to an intermediate or an advanced rider. The first one is super obvious if you've ever seen anyone riding off-road, and that is stand up. Standing up on the bike when you're nervous, when traction is uncertain, when you tackle a difficult section, has a ton of benefits. You can see farther ahead, you can identify upcoming obstacles, you can pick your lines better, and we're going to talk later about looking farther ahead, but when you stand up, your vision is elevated, you're less likely to look directly down in front of your tire, you can see farther down the trail and plan accordingly and feel confident tackling the obstacles that are coming at you. When you stand up, your legs can absorb a lot of the impact, they can help you balance and maneuver the motorcycle in a way that it's easier for your knees and legs and ankles that bend to absorb impacts than it is your tailbone, which does not. My favorite benefit to standing up, especially as I was learning, is that you become disconnected from the motorcycle. That sounds like a bad thing, but it totally isn't, because when you're a new rider and your instinct is to sit down when you're anxious because you want your feet closer to the ground, you feel every single bump, jostle, gyration, every little pitch sideways that the rear end of that motorcycle does, and all of those things make it 10 times scarier because you think every single one of them is going to cause you to crash. When you stand up, you just don't feel those things because the bike can move underneath you, and so you're not being taken for a ride. You're riding the motorcycle, it's not riding you, which is not exactly the metaphor I'm trying to make, but you get the idea. And along that same vein, another big benefit to standing up on the bike is you avoid the temptation to put your feet down and waddle. It is totally okay to dab while standing, but dabbing, where you put your foot down and jump back up on the pegs, is a lot different than sitting down and trying to waddle your way through stuff. Almost every scenario, you are better off with your feet on the pegs, actively controlling the motorcycle, than you are putting your feet down and waddling. Now, when your confidence is shot, when you're in something that you're uncomfortable with, sure, put your feet down. I'm not advocating for just going headlong through something that terrifies you or that you don't feel confident that you can get through. But when in doubt, stand up. Anytime it's sketchy or you get nervous, you should stand up, because that'll keep you from giving up, sitting down, waddling, and you'll be surprised by what you can ride through, and that's the biggest confidence builder that there is, in my experience. Also, when you're standing, you're able to shift and adjust your motorcycle's movements in real time. So if the bike goes left suddenly, you can lean that bike underneath you and readjust and regain control. You have so much more control when you're standing up. You can move forward, you can move back, you can move side to side, you can steer with your feet that you just don't have sitting down. Speaking of steering with your feet, it is so much easier to make quick maneuvers, quick corrections when you are standing up, because you can use your weight to quickly shift your bike left and right. Put your weight on the left peg, the bike will go left, and then quickly put it on the right peg to go right and swerve around obstacles. That's possible while you're sitting down, but it's a lot more intuitive and more effective when you're standing. You also get a lot better airflow. That's maybe more of a benefit on hot days, but your lower body doesn't get a lot of airflow when you're riding aggressively off-road sitting down, but if you stand up, you can get a lot more airflow on some of the areas that tend to overheat quickly. And probably the most important and final thing I can tell you, the biggest benefit of standing up while riding off-road, is it looks really cool. You ever see video of people riding off-road? Who looks cooler, the people standing up, people sitting down? I know that's why we all got into this, was to look cool. So when in doubt, look cool, do the thing that looks cool, so stand up. If you're a person, a newer rider who sits down when they're anxious, I would encourage you to practice standing up when you're anxious. You're going to be pleasantly surprised by the things you can get through standing up, and that's going to build your confidence so fast. Start standing up in places where you're confident and slowly move into standing up in places where you're not confident, and I swear, I promise, you will see the benefits of standing up. The second simple thing you can do to greatly improve your off-road riding skill, and this is the thing I did most recently, is 2 fingers. 2 fingers on the clutch, 2 fingers on the brake. I started out 4 fingers on the clutch and the brake, just like all of you did, or like many of you did, because that's what they teach in the MSF course, or the Team Oregon course we have here in Oregon. But the benefits to using 2 fingers on your clutch and your brake are manyfold. One, if you only have 2 fingers on your brake and you keep them on the brake all the time, it's so much harder to panic brake and grab a big fistful of brake. If you teach yourself to keep 2 fingers on the brake, then even if you're freaked out and something scary happens, you're still only going to grab with those 2 fingers instead of all of your fingers and pitching yourself over the front of the motorcycle. It makes it much easier to do a more advanced skill, which is preloading your front brake. So before you grab a handful of brake, you should always apply, they say, 5%. You go into a corner where you know you're going to have to brake. If you have the foresight or you know what's going to happen, you should just pull enough where your brake pads start to make contact with your rotor. Then, if you have to pull and give it more brake, your suspension's already partially compressed, the brake pads are closer, you're going to get a lot more effective braking than if you go from 0 to 100% braking really quickly. Going from 5 to 95 is way better than 0 to 100. The biggest benefit of 2 fingers on your clutch and your brake is precision. You have so much more precision. And I actually had to adjust my clutch levers once I made this adjustment to take full advantage of it. But your braking is more precise with only 2 fingers, but your clutch over here, man, it is so much more precise. Off-road, we spend so much time in the friction zone, so much more than you do when you're on-road. And so if you're coming from street bike riding, it is a different animal. You are going to be in that gray zone a lot. You're going to be feathering in and out of your clutch a lot because that is your rear tire traction control. We only have one drive wheel. So we have to make sure that we maintain traction. We're not spinning tires all the time. And the way that we do that is by fine clutch control, just subtle movements on your clutch in and out, particularly slow speed maneuvers. You're going to be moving that clutch in and out a lot. That is so much harder when you're ham fisting it with 4 fingers than it is just slightly with 2, slightly with 2. So the precision is so much better with 2 fingers. It's another big advantage to 2 fingers on the clutch. Here's another big one, and this is something I recently learned, but your pinky is responsible for the majority of the grip on your hand. When we ride with 2 fingers, we keep our pinky on the bars. We keep our strongest finger for grip on the bars, which means they're a lot less likely to be jerked out of your hand if you hit a rut or a log or a rock you didn't see. Gives you a lot more control, keeps your hooks, as Brett Tax calls them, on the bars. We think about the benefits of 2 fingering in terms of what we pull, but we forget about the benefits of what we grip with the other 2. We think about these 2, we don't think about these 2, but these 2 are just as important. So it's a huge advantage. And it takes a little time to build up the muscle. It really does. You're going to be sore. There are going to be days when you're halfway through and you're switching to 3 fingers, and maybe by the end it's even 4 because your hand is just tired, your wrist muscles are tired, but it is worth the practice, it is worth the commitment, it is worth the initial pain because you gain so much precision. It's going to make you a much better rider. The third simple way you can improve your off-road motorcycle riding skills is by looking further ahead. Newer riders, inexperienced riders, and even some of us experienced, intermediate, and even veteran riders fall into the trap of looking down, looking at what is exactly right in front of our tire, because we want to make sure that we can react to it. We want to make sure that there's no surprises, and that is actually bad for your riding skills in a lot of ways. You can't see obstacles further up the trail, so when you're looking down in front of your tire, you are constantly surprised. You're never adjusting and picking good lines. It screws up your line choice, so if there's, a big rock in the trail, if I'm looking up, I'll see it far early enough to get over. If I'm looking down, I'm gonna see it too late to do anything about it. When you're looking straight down instead of up ahead, it makes all of your actions abrupt. You have to make sharp movements. You can't smoothly guide yourself in and out of things, and as my friend Tyler says, smooth good, abrupt bad, particularly off-road. When we're dealing with limited traction, abrupt moves are bad, smooth moves are good. Your bike has, most likely, a 21-inch front wheel. Most dual sports, most adventure bikes have a 21-inch front wheel. At the very least, you should have a 19. That wheel will roll over anything up to as tall as the hub, the center of the wheel, with ease. So that is a 10-inch obstacle that you can roll over really without even doing anything. All you have to do is just ride over it and the bike will take care of it. So if you happen to find something by surprise because you're looking up and it's down there in front of you, the bike's gonna roll over it. Trust the bike to handle what's directly in front of it because that's what it's built for, and look farther down the trail in order to smooth out your movements and to pick better lines. That's not to say you never look in front of you, but the point is you should not be totally looking in front of you. You should be looking up. Another big advantage to looking farther ahead is it greatly increases the speed and the safety with which you can take corners. One of my favorite things to practice is keep my head up. I'm always looking through the apex of the turn, and as soon as I can see that turn is clear, I hit the gas and take it as tight as I can. But I don't do that until I know there's nothing coming. And the only way to do that is to look as far ahead as possible, see the corners clear, and then take it. That's a good way to practice and a big benefit of looking farther ahead. Another place that you should really focus on looking farther ahead is when you're riding with someone else, when you're following them. It's really easy to fall into the trap of just looking at the rear tire of the person in front of you and following their line, particularly if they're a better rider than you. But you need to be looking farther ahead and picking your own lines for a lot of reasons. One, the person in front of you could make a mistake. They make mistakes. Two, if you're following their line exactly, if they screw up, you're gonna hit them. And three, sometimes you follow people who are really good and they take crappy lines on purpose because they want to practice, they think it's fun. They may be doing dumb things that you don't want to be doing, and so it's really important to look ahead of them and not just follow their line. So that's 3 simple ways you can go out and increase your off-road riding skills. 3 skills to practice. Long-winded as always because that's who I am. That's why this video only has 3 tips in it. But one final tip, don't try to keep all these skills in your head at the same time. What I like to do is go out and pick one skill. Today I'm gonna practice looking farther ahead. Today I'm gonna practice standing up when I'm nervous. Today I'm gonna practice 2 fingers on the clutch and the brake. It sounds cheesy, but I like to say that to whoever I'm riding with. Okay, today I'm gonna practice 2 fingers on the clutch. I'm gonna try to do that all day. Kind of holds me accountable. So I would encourage you to pick one skill on your next ride to practice, say it to whoever you're riding with, and then maybe at the end of the day be like, oh, like reflect on how you did on that one skill. Go out, have fun. Don't spend the whole time trying to remember everything. Just focus on one thing. Improve that one thing. Next ride, pick something else because the one thing's gotten better. So this video is actually the first in a 2-part series. I actually have 6 simple ways you can improve your off-road riding skills, but as you can see, this video is already long, so I'm gonna split it. Make sure you're subscribed for part 2. I will link it for you when it's ready, and it'll be a good chance to learn more about leaning your bike, getting farther forward, and just relaxing. That's what we're gonna talk about in the next one. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, maybe hit the like button. But for now, and as always, I just wanna say thank you very much for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!
Oh, yeah, yeah. You're not down with 90s Offspring. Do I even know you?